So I've had a full-time job since like 2017 when I graduated from college. At the same time though, I have been working on building a side hustle into a full-time career through music and YouTube. Originally, I was trying to get to this place by using sheer force and willpower. I would have insane work hours and have very little sleep. At one point, my schedule was literally waking up at 6:30 a.m., getting to work by 8, leaving work at 5, driving home, starting to work on whatever project I needed to do by 6:30, and then working on that until 3 or 4 a.m., and then getting a couple hours of sleep and starting the whole process over and over again. This was absolutely unsustainable. And I even remember it being so bad that there was at least one time that I passed out from exhaustion. After accepting that that wasn't the best approach and that it definitely wasn't sustainable, I tried a different approach. I put zero expectations on anything that I was doing at any day, and I would just kind of work as I felt like it. And I didn't really feel like that was effective either, because it would either lead to really long hours or just me not doing anything at all. But as of this year, I feel like I've kind of found a pretty decent balance between working the necessary hours and giving myself the time and space to relax and recharge. The very first thing that I realized was that I wasn't really working towards anything specific at any given time. Each day I would spend a few hours working, and it would just be like getting a lot done, but there wasn't any end goal to what I was doing. And what I figured out for myself is that I need clear goals, and not just the big goal of doing music and YouTube full time, but also smaller goals that are kind of like mile markers along the way. Another way to put it is that I need to break down my macro goals into micro steps. And this helps me better determine what is actually an effective use of my time every single day. The current micro steps that I've put in place for myself for this year have been at least 2 YouTube videos every month, 1 song every month for the first 6 months, and at least 1 social media post every single week. And I don't always hit those goals, and that's completely fine. What I figured out is that by having those micro steps, I end up doing better in the long run because I at least have something that I'm working towards every day, every week, and every month. And it helps me keep that forward momentum towards the larger goal that I have. Once I had my macro goal and my micro steps in place, I needed a way to keep track of all of those things and to be able to keep track of anything that would help me get closer to achieving each of those goals. And I've worked with various creatives over the years, and I've seen how not really having a way to keep track of your tasks and goals can lead to a lot of aimless work being done. So something that I have started to implement in my process is trying to figure out how to create a second brain. For some people, that could be anything that as simple as writing things down on a piece of paper or in a notebook. But for me, I'm a digital nerd tech kind of guy. So my solution has been a tool named Notion, which if you watch productivity YouTube, it's there. People talk about it all the time. But for me, it literally is my second brain. I've taken the time to build out a somewhat complex database that keeps track of my progress on songs and music projects that I'm working on, and ideas for YouTube videos and the status of current YouTube videos that I'm working on, and also even keeping track of things that I need for social media in order to maintain the consistency that I need. The other important thing that I realized is that I need to use my calendar and put things in my calendar so that I can know when I need to be doing something so that I can make sure that I'm getting it done. In reality, this whole point right here of tracking things and writing things down could be a whole other video, and I'll probably have to do that now that I'm thinking about it. And speaking of calendars, I have finally, for the first time in my life, started putting together somewhat of a routine. I realized that I was never gonna get close to achieving my goals if I didn't do the work, but also I realized that I needed to give myself the space to relax and recharge so I could have the energy to actually take on said tasks to complete the goals. And then when you add in the fact that I'm also married and I want to be a good husband to my wife and spend time with her and not just lock myself in a room all day, a routine was kind of important for me to get in place. The routine that I found that works best for me is waking up at 7 a.m. and kind of knocking out a couple of smaller tasks. It sounds way more productive than it really is. It's really just being on my phone at 7 in the morning instead of waking up right before work, rolling out of bed, and logging on to work because I am a remote worker. In that hour, I am checking my email, responding to DMs if I have any, seeing if anybody commented on a post while I was asleep, and just trying to get all that stuff out of the way. And if I'm feeling really ambitious, then I will actually go for a run or work out in the morning, which we're working on that. And then after work, which is about 5 o'clock, I will spend time with my wife and eat dinner. And then around 8 or 9, I'll start working on whatever tasks I need to complete for my music and YouTube channel for that day. And doing this process really only gives me about 2 to 3 hours to be able to get things done. But because I did step 1 of having goals and tasks that I'm trying to complete, I actually can get a lot done spending less time working on those things, which is so helpful. But early on in the process of having that routine, there's something that I realized I needed to do. Have you ever decided that you were gonna work on something and then you get everything together, you get ready, you sit down, and then you start to work on it. But then you get a notification from Instagram on your phone and you got a DM from one of your friends. So you grab it real quick, take a look, respond to it, and then you start scrolling through Instagram. I have done that. I am the person I'm talking about. And I realized that if I'm only gonna be spending 2 to 3 hours a day working on these tasks, I don't really have time to be getting distracted by social media. But I'm not in a position that I can just delete social media from my phone. And I also don't have the money to just spend on having 2 phones, one with social media, one without, just so I can not be distracted. So the middle ground solution that I have come up with is very groundbreaking. I just turn off all my social media notifications, because if I'm not getting a notification, I don't pick up my phone to check Instagram and then get stuck scrolling. And something that I'm gonna be implementing soon to take that a step further is even going as far as setting up a focus mode on my phone that blocks all notifications unless it's a relevant person that I should really answer the phone for. And after I've taken all these other steps to make sure that I am staying on task and able to accomplish all my goals in a timely manner, there's one more thing that I realized I need to do. And technically, I did this years ago. So when I started working on YouTube videos, I would have to clean off the area that I was going to record. I'd have to set up the camera, set up the lights, hit record, and then make sure that everything was working right, and then start recording. What I quickly realized was that this is a very big barrier to me getting things done, plus it eats up a ton of time. So what I have started to do is figure out what ways I can streamline my process. So I've done things like buy multiple versions of the same tripod so I can have my camera constantly mounted up. And if I need to have a mobile shot, I can just pick up the camera, put it on the other tripod that's not locked off, and move it around. I have lights that are pretty much always set up. And in a scenario like this where I am recording in my living room, I have everything mostly set up where I can just grab it and move it into another room, and all I have to do is plug in a couple cables and hit record on the camera. And I do something similar in my music process as well. A lot of what I've experienced with the creative process is decision fatigue, because I have to decide what software am I gonna use, what plugin am I gonna use, what sound am I gonna use, so on and so forth. So what I did was really evaluate what I use the most and then set those things up as presets in my process. That way I don't have to debate. I just decide to go to what I always go to and move forward from there. I know that a lot of people hesitate to do things like that in their creative process because they're worried that it would just lead to the same result every single time. But when you think about it, that's the same thing as creating your own personal style, whether it's music, painting, drawing, graphic design, so on and so forth. You can't really have a style if you keep on changing your process every single time. And that last little thing is really just a side note that could be its own other video. But to get back to the point at hand, the overall thing that I've learned this year is that a lot of these things are mindset shifts about the way that I go about creating. And I feel like it's led to me being more productive than I have ever been in my life, while spending the least amount of time that I've ever spent working on music consistently. I know that's confusing and it doesn't make sense, but you can leave a comment below if you want more clarification, and I can do a comment reaction video where I respond to comments or something like that. But anyways, seriously, leave a comment below if you have any systems or things that you've done to be able to balance your creative side hustle or passions or career with your full-time job. And if you're still trying to figure it out, let people know. Like, let's all work together and figure this out together. And the last thing that I like to add is I'm doing all these various different things because I'm my own record label and creative studio. So if you would like to show some support, you can become a Patreon or channel member at one of the links below. And if you don't really want a monthly commitment like that, then you can also do a super chat or super thanks. All of that is greatly appreciated. And until my next video, I will see you later.